Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome to After Hours Live with G-Lew. This is the G-Lew Show. Friday night interviews tonight. We got a very special guest, the homie Tyre Mills from Rydaz for Life Films. He's here, y'all. Let's go.
I'm sick. Where the crime is at its high on the day. And niggas die from those who pack hollow tips and clips in 380s. Born and raised in the land of the shade. When you learn early to survive, it's a stage of being babies. To walk the streets of Cali in the dark alleys. Through an endless struggle to escape poverty by any means. Just to stay alive, but ducking strays from drive-bys. I'm still strapped with heat. Too many good homies and dimes used to ride with me. To where you ask no questions when it jumps. Just engage the triggers. Gauge the niggas with the pump. The vet for the night, the streets on feet. Before the look you lose, can drop dimes to the police. Who's constantly racially profiled with reward in 3D. To where young blacks and Latinos have no chance of the command of the LAPD. Throwing game sweeps this safe and clear by communities. Where they just as corrupt and don't give a fuck as you and me. And this show in these streets.
I'm your host with the most, Big G-Lew. We are back for another special episode. It's going to be great tonight, people. I have a special guest for you. Before we bring them in, shout out to our sponsors, Street Level Clothing. Want the OG golf hats, go to streetlevelclothing.com. Also, Rydaz for Life Films. Go check out all of their films. They're online everywhere. Follow the platforms. They're on IG, Rydaz for Life Films as well. And check everything they got going on. They got a lot of stuff going on we'll talk about. Also, SBI, Spider Lope. Shout out to our sponsor. And shout out to our producer, DD Hairston. Okay. That being said, hold on one second. Let me put my lokes on so I can see what I'm saying. Okay, here we go. Now, I am G-Lew, your host with the most for the evening. What up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another special edition of Friday Night Interviews. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate the love and support as always. And like I told you tonight, we got a very special guest. My guy, he's a producer. He's a teacher. He's an actor. He's a director. I mean, college graduate. I mean, you know, real dude from the streets. You know what I mean? All of that right there. But overall, he's a real good guy and has a lot to offer to the game and to the kids and everyone out there who wants to learn and think of food. So we're going to bring him on tonight. Special guest, Tyre Mills is here, people. What up, homie?
What up, y'all? Man, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Man, it's an honor as well to have you, man. Shout out to everyone out there in the chats. What up, everyone? Jay the Fifth is out there. What up, loved one? Shout out to Spanx.
Yeah,
shout out to Lokes, Las Vegas Black Film Festival. Good evening. Thank you. And like I said, without any further ado, I talked about you a little bit, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself for me, please, sir.
Oh man, okay. Yes, short version. I'm a cinematographer mainly, but filmmaker all around. I'm honored and part of Rydaz for Life Films team /family/company. We really do it all in different forms of just film and really trying to minister to people through our work. Outside of that, I'm a substitute teacher. I fly drones, I edit, and I just do my best to, I guess kind of like minister to people and help people through everything that I do. I'm an avid reader, love reading. I love learning about the Word of God. I study more now than I probably ever have in my entire life. And I'm the type of person that I'll read stuff over and over and over again because I see different meanings, different angles. Anybody who knows me will tell you I'm a very analytical person. I can tend to overthink a lot, but that honestly helps me in a lot of situations. It helps me help others. Yeah, short version.
Hey, first, before I continue, what up, everyone out there? I see you're Tyre Mills the fourth. I want to commend you on that because I'm a fourth as well. I don't run across too many fourths, you know what I mean? So I'm a fourth as well. Shout out to my pops, rest in peace. But I see you're a fourth, so salute to you on that, brother.
Man, thank you. Shout out to yourself as well. I don't come across too many either. I come across a few thirds here and there,
Right.
but fourth,
That's
that's a
rare.
long way to get to.
Right. That's what's up. Now, man, let me go back a bit because you have a long journey, uh, a long career. Obviously, been doing great things, and you're still pretty young. Convicted Hearts, Jim Magana, thank you for joining us, sweetheart. Where does it start for you? Because I know you're in the LA area and you're doing your thing in LA, but a lot of people don't know you're actually from Oakland, which I didn't even know. Take us back a little bit to a little bit of your upbringing, man, coming up in Northern California.
Okay. Well, I was born, raised. I was actually born in Hayward, California, but
Shout out to
raised
Hank.
all my life in Oakland. Lived in Oakland. Lived in different parts of Oakland. Oakland is just in my heart and everything that I do. The Bay Area, similar to LA in a lot of ways, but I would say the Bay Area is like one big community. Like one thing I noticed a little different than the Bay Area um, in LA is that like in LA, people kind of claim different sides or different areas that they're from. But in the Bay Area, if you from a city in the Bay, everybody just claims the Bay. So that's why like our fans, when it comes to sports, are so diehard because every team is like the Bay's team. It's not like one side or the other. Outside of that, played baseball growing up. Loved baseball to death. That was my life before I got into any of this entertainment stuff. I played shortstop, center field, pitcher, and I faced some guys that are I think in the minors now, but I was always a smaller guy, so I didn't really play much past high school, just a little bit of club ball here and there. And
Right.
after that, went to college at Cal State Northridge.
Hold on, let me touch back on the baseball thing because I when I was younger, I played baseball too, and I even though I played all sports, I think I excelled the most in baseball, right? But
Yeah,
it was like something about baseball is that when you get a certain age, I don't know what it was, you know what I mean? You don't, it's not, I don't know if it's not cool anymore. You just don't do it or what, like, because I really was good in baseball, minor leagues, little league, all that pop, but after a certain age, I didn't do it anymore. Like, what do you think that is? Or you think that's like with kids of color or whatever? I don't know. You know, what I mean, what do you think that is?
I
Because
had a feeling
it
you
is less of this in baseball.
point. Yeah, well, it's funny. When I was playing baseball, my dad was actually very keen on that, where he was trying to encourage me because we were starting to see less and less kids of color play. As you move
Right.
up the ranks, you start playing in more competitive tournaments, and at higher levels, you see less and less of us. But I think one thing that draws us away from baseball is it doesn't have as much glitz and glamour as football and basketball does. A lot of guys get in that, and whether they're good at it or not, they see that those sports have cheerleaders. Those sports have more TV coverage. You tend to see the bigger scholarships come out of those sports. And
Right.
baseball is something that you really have to have in your heart, and love because it's a game that's not played on a time limit. Every situation changes. I say like baseball is more of a game that's similar to chess than almost any other sport
Right.
because every situation is more about thinking than what actually happens. And a lot of people get bored with that. A lot of people I know call baseball boring. So, it's got to be in your heart or else, you kind of give it up.
Right. I think that sums it up because, like you said, as we get a certain age, I know for me personally, it's just doing different things, and baseball is just not included or not as cool, like you said, as football or basketball and all the fun stuff. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. Also, you coming up in Oakland. So when did you officially move to LA, or did you start when you went to college, or what was it?
Yeah, man. When I went to college, that was different. I came to Cal State Northridge, literally like right after I graduated, and it was interesting because it was like I was looking forward to college, and then like that first year just hit me in the face, and I wasn't ready for a lot of what hit me. Luckily, I wasn't super challenged academically, but just life wise. I came down here, and I realized just like how not ready for life I was.
Right.
I'm talking about like I didn't even know how to practically use a debit card or
Wow.
and I thought that what I was doing at home I was prepared, and I had no idea. I had no sense of direction, how to get around, just basic things. Man, you could
Was
have
it a
made
culture shock at all to coming, or were you kind of prepared for that?
Nah, it was a bit of a culture shock because I had never been around people from other countries like that in other areas, and the way that people interacted too. You know, you come across people from the East Coast, come across people from the South, and
Right.
the way they live is different. You know, their manners in the house is different. You know, when you eat around them, the way that they sit at the table is different. And a lot of, it's when you get to college, a lot of the small things hit you first that you never thought about. You know,
Right. Right. So, what were you actually going to school for? Was it filmmaking, or what was it?
Nah, actually, so I came to Cal State Northridge because I wanted to major in film. And then when I got here, like last second, I changed my major to kinesiology. And I actually
Okay.
graduated. What'd you say?
What is it again? You shot a
Kinesiology.
big word. Kinesiology. Okay. Oh, okay. Got you. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so for those who don't know, kinesiology is basically like the study of sports medicine, athletic training, exercise science, anything to do with treating and dealing with injuries, rehabbing people, occupational therapy, physical therapy, things of that sort. And the shock I got in that was I thought I wanted to do that, and I started realizing like a lot of people kind of jump into that who are ex-athletes, and it's one of those things where like if it's not in your heart to do it, it's kind of like being a doctor. You can do pre-med, but then when it comes time for med school, like if it's really not in your heart, you're not gonna excel at it. And I kind of put film aside at the time because I didn't really believe in it, and I kind of had like a lot of the wrong people in my ear, kind of telling me like, "Oh, you're not gonna make no money in that," or that's not gonna take you nowhere. That's just a hobby,
Right.
you know.
So, what was it about kinesiology that made you say, "Okay, this is it right here"?
Actually, at the time, I thought that I just wanted to still be around sports, So I
Okay.
thought that I still wanted to be around like baseball. I thought that I might become a coach at some point in time, and maybe coach like a college team or potentially a high school team. And it's I feel like it kind of came with the territory of playing sports. Like I don't know, like for you, if you ever when you stopped playing baseball, if you ever thought about like getting back around the game somehow.
Right.
Some guys think about umpiring, some guys think about coaching.
And it was you, just sports medicine. Okay. Cool. So, what happened during that journey with that, with studying that or whatever? That what you wound up grad? Because I know you graduated. What was the outcome?
So, all right, I'll give you a quick story. I don't want to drag it out too long because it's a process of what happened over my college career. I actually during the time I was studying, things were going fine. I didn't have a problem. I never really had a problem being a student. I could handle the workload, but it was just wearing on me over some years. And by the time I got midway through college and close to graduation, it really started to just dawn upon me that like I really don't want this. Like I really don't like this. And
Right.
I felt stuck because college is expensive. We spend a lot of money there. We put a lot of investment there. So I kept being torn between like, if I switch to something else now, and everything I did and everything that was paid for is for nothing. And end up pretty much having like a really bad nervous breakdown. And at one point, even got put out of school and wasn't sure if I was gonna get back. A lot of people don't know this, but I had a fraternity brother that was he was kind of like a mentor of mine. When I was out of school, he walked with me up to the dean's office, and actually, like I don't know what all he said, but he went directly to the dean and talked to the dean, and they let me back in school. And when I got
That's
back in school, yeah,
fraternities, man, and stuff like that.
yeah, that was big because at the time when I was out of school, I had failed a lot of classes, and it was looking like I was not gonna be able to finish school. And I had to get out. I had to get a full-time job, and my load picked up. Everything was a lot harder, and so basically, what ended up happening was I did graduate with my degree in kinesiology, but this will tie into how I got into film later. Because I knew I wanted to do film when I first got there, I kind of pushed it aside, and basically when I end up having like this nervous breakdown and got to a point where, I was suicidal. And I actually, attempted before. I've said this in other interviews, so whoever's watching now,
Right.
they hear it again. But yeah, I was suicidal. Made a few attempts, failed attempts.
You
Failed.
said a few. Wow.
Failed. Luckily, by the grace of God. And after that, I remember kind of like thinking that maybe this is the first time that I clearly heard like words from God, because it was like after the last attempt, it kind of felt like in my spirit what I was told, like, look, either you're gonna do this or not, and you're not. So look, go and sit somewhere. I got something bigger down the road for you. Just go and sit and wait for instructions. And
so Tyre, at this time, are you not believing in God, or what? Or you just like didn't care about that, or what?
I've never not believed in
spirituality
God.
Spiritual at this time.
I wasn't very involved in it back then. I've never not believed in God. I was raised in church, and I was raised, in my family. But at the time during college, I was not as like into my word. It wasn't something that I prioritized. I can admit I was one of the kind of people that I pray to God when like things got bad, not giving a time of day for prayer and actually like making time for a relationship. And when I was depressed and I was going through these hard times, I just remember praying for some peace. Like I would only get peace in my sleep, because having to interact with all the things that I had going on, even just walking to class was just stressing me out. Like, and that's a whole another long story within itself. But just to get to, how I got to the end, basically, I felt like God was speaking to me and was like, look, you're not going to die. Like, I got something bigger for you down the road. Like, just go and sit your ass still somewhere and, wait for instructions. And then I thought things were getting better. Things kind of got progressively worse. One thing that one of my close friends and me have a common story on was we worked at the same job, and we had both like just worked our ass off for like a week and a half straight. We had like this really fat paycheck coming in. As soon as we got the paycheck, literally everything that I had to pay for just wiped it out, and I was left with $8 after having like just busting my butt for like the past few weeks. And I remember being in that moment, like we both sat back in my living room and we were just like, bruh, this cannot be life. Like, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden in that moment, I just it was an off day, and I had gotten like I felt like I got this message from God, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get me a camera. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get one. And my friend is like, man, we just lost all our money. I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna go get one. And so I live across the street from my school, and I happened to go over there just seeing where they might have equipment. And next thing you know, it was the first day that the media studio at Cal State Northridge started renting out cameras to students. And I was the first one to rent one. And I was the only person renting them that whole semester. So they kept letting me use it. And that was the start of that journey.
Okay, because someone had a question. I guess that's a great segue, because I meant to get to your question. Who was that? Someone had a question about that. They asked it twice. They were asked what. Long story short, they were asking what was your inspiration to get into film making, and would you say that was the start of it?
That was the start of me making moves into it. I would say the actual start of it was when I was little. I used to just kind of watch like behind the scenes stuff about movies that I would watch all the time. And I wanted to see like, how did they make this, or how did that happen? Like, I remember one thing that inspired me was Jurassic Park. And I was like, how did they make actual dinosaurs look real? And then I would see behind the scenes. I didn't know what CGI was back then. But my great grandfather wound up getting me a camcorder camera, a real cheap one from Costco back in the day. And I was making little movies with my Legos, and I would use like index cards to write the credits on. And that was kind of like the first spark of film that I had. And then, after fast forward years later, late in college, what I told you then, that was kind of when I started putting it into action.
Right. Wow. And then so going back to when you graduate. Well, first I want to speak on this one little last part to the suicidal things. In closing with that, like even before you get into that, ask where you were spiritually at that point. But how about just love? Like I don't know what mind frame you're in because you said multiple times, but was it just a lack? Was it a lack of love, or was it just you in your own? But you were thinking, it seemed you had a lot of love. I know you come from a good family, and then you said you were a fraternity brother, so I'm sure your brothers were there. So what? And then you said God somewhat. So what was it to that point that you wanted to just do that? You think multiple times?
So it's interesting asking that. I'm glad you actually asked that too, because I think what I can tell you is what I learned in that time, because I thought the exact same way. I used to think when it came to like suicide, I used to picture, I guess what you would call like gothic emo people, and I'm like, that's for them. I'm like, black people don't do suicide. I'm like, we tough and we resilient and we resist everything. And it was one of those wake up calls where it was like, no, like exactly what you think could never happen to you can happen to you. And it's not always something that people from the outside can perceive, because it's one of those things that like, unless you've been through it, you can't always explain it to other people. And I think for me going through it, it was also meant for me to help others, because I have had others come up to me numerous times and ask me about it because they've seen me like share about it, and it actually wound up saving their lives. So sometimes I wonder if maybe that was why I went through it. And when it comes to having like you said, like love and other people around you, when you go through it, that kind of depression, you realize that it's not about like what you rationally would think when you're not in that state. Like, of course, outside of it, people look at it and they say, well, this person has a loving family. They have a life that should fulfill them. But then one of the biggest things I noticed is a lot of people who are suicidal are people who have everything, but
Right.
they're not at peace in here, and there's something that's missing in their relationships. The love they could be getting may not feel as genuine, or there may be something in it that we don't see. And a lot of the people that I've even talked to that have gone there, they haven't been like, completely dirt broke down on their luck or homeless or, dying from a condition. Quite frankly, those often are the people that I see more resilient. When it comes to suicide, I would say, and it's funny because we just did an episode on this on our podcast too, but when it comes to suicide, it's something that is in your mind, and it's like the highest form of your mind playing tricks on you. And a lot of times, if you talk to anybody who's been there, they'll tell you like you experienced something similar to like hearing voices, but it's almost like a voice of yourself. It's very bad self-talk. And you can only really notice this when you're outside of it, like after you overcome it. But yeah, and not to extend it too much longer, but I just look at like a lot of times like celebrities and famous people that have committed suicide, and you look at what they had around them, and you're like, well, this dude had a 10-bedroom mansion. Like, what could be wrong with him? He had a wife and kids and family and everything, and
That's the
there's
crazy
something.
part. Why I ask you, because it seems to be a lot of more than less are the ones that do this, or you know what I mean, are the ones you think have everything or should be okay. But like you said, that's a lot of times farthest from the truth, right? But that's
And
just
then,
crazy.
can I share one last thing too? Because I want to make sure I
Yeah.
answered the last part of your question. For me, I won't get into every single detail, but I know for me, what I look at now and having, grace for others is we all don't understand like what's valuable and what's important to that person that might not seem as valuable to us. So
Right.
what they make a big deal out of might not seem as big to you, but like for me during that time, a lot of things were going wrong. I mean, I'll be transparent with y'all. I had I was around a lot of the wrong individuals in school at
Okay.
that time that I shouldn't have been around.
Okay.
I had failed all my classes in a semester twice and thought I was gonna flunk out of school with all that money that was spent. Had to get a loan and everything. I felt bad because I felt like I had let my parents, my family down. My biggest inspiration, you know, fought in World War II. A lot of my family members, I just remember, like, you know, you guys still there?
Yeah. You froze up on me for a minute. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you what I was saying break up?
A little bit. I don't know. We lost you. Well, me. I don't know if everyone else could hear, but it froze up when you were saying that, like you said, you were letting down your parents. You know what I mean? And I think that was
Oh
it.
yeah. So I mean, basically, I had made some decisions down here while I was in school and around the wrong individuals, and some choices that could have landed me in some legal trouble as well too, and stuff that I had no business doing while in school. You know, and I'm like, man, this is not
You
what my
knew you
parents
did
sent me
better. You knew you were wrong. You knew.
here.
You were
Not
wrong.
only that, I'll be completely transparent too. I remember there was a time when I lied to my parents that I felt bad about it too. And then I remember when it was found out too, and then being told that like they were disappointed in me. And I know like to other people who've been through, you know, more serious stuff that they would consider, it might not sound as big of a deal, but it's just like things were piling up. Like, on top of that, got into an accident, totaled my car, head-on collision.
Man.
I
So what? Oh,
was a child in the process who was
hold
nearby.
on. Tyre, hold on. Hold on 1 second, bro. Because it seems to me like I'm getting this whole vibe like you got it together, you doing your thing, or you should be. I'm to find out you down there, you over here thugging or something, homie. Like you went from like plugging all your classes, you said total the car. Like, are you partying? Like, what are you doing? And does this have anything to do with you becoming like in a fraternity? Because I know they party a lot. I know what goes on in colleges and all that. Like, what took you to where all this is going on? Because it's one thing to have a few issues, but you say you flunking classes, you know, you partying. Now you gotta have a baby, and you totaled the car. You doing a whole lot. Like, what's really going on, Tyre? Talk to me, homie.
Was around the wrong influences. That's really what I chuck it up to. Because when I look at all of it, I mean that it didn't end there. So, you know, I had the accident, then I lost my job. When I lost my job, I literally like lost my job in the worst way too, because when I got into my accident, I was supposed to not work, and it was like I sent them like my doctor's note and everything, but it almost was like they couldn't wait to get rid of me, which is weird. And that was a whole nother thing in itself. And then the person I was dating at the time, this is real transparent. When I got left by a person I was dating, and then they wound up like posting a really I don't want to say viral Instagram post of them with somebody else that everybody knew that I knew, and I started getting blown up about it, and it was real embarrassing. I didn't even want to show up to campus. It was bad.
Damn.
Yeah, man, it was
and this is like Writers for Life. Y'all might want to, we might want to get the script of Tyre Mills, man, and make this is like a movie right here, man. You ever thought about making a movie about yourself, brother?
I haven't, no, actually.
We might need to do that. Where's the homie JT? Is he out there? We need production, Writers for Life. We may need a script on this right here. Real talk.
Yeah. He's
go ahead, bro.
But yeah, when it comes to that, it was also, so during the time when all that was happening too, my grandmother and my brother were both sick in the hospital at the time. And yeah, you know, like my fam wanted me to come home and see them, and I was kind of like still out here, you know, just handling business, different business. And I felt bad because I felt like I really should have been, and I'm grateful, you know, nothing happened to them. But just making bad decisions based on bad influences, man. And you know,
Do
I
you feel
thank
that
God.
do you feel that you probably didn't want to even face them at that time anyway? Besides, you say you handling business, you probably just didn't want to see the family at that time. I don't know.
To do with it. I think that had a lot to do with it. And
Right.
yeah, just I think too, when you're the oldest child, you know, and you're the first one going to college, you know, you gotta really set the tone. And
Right.
so for me, when I got back, you know, it was just about, you know, I don't care what it is, you know, I just gotta graduate and get this thing done. I can't be defeated. You know, an enemy tried to take me out multiple times, and yeah, it was wild.
Wow. But safe to say, you know, you made it out of it. You know, I'm sure it's a lot more even in between that. But to conclude that part of even you, like, what was it like? You got through it all. Obviously, multiple suicide attempts and all of this to the point that you are. Take us to where you are about to graduate now. How does that feel? You know what I mean? I'm sure it was a lot more involved in between, but to get to that finish line of at least graduating, where are you at this point, and how does that feel, man? What up, Queen?
So when it came to graduation, and shout out to Miss Michelle. I see you, JT, in the chat. When it came to that, I literally was less worried about what the degree meant to me and more just about getting it done. And so when I got back into school, I felt like it was like God giving me my second chance. And when it came to just everything that I had going on, as I told you, I went and I got the camera that day, and then I just started shooting stuff. And then after I started shooting stuff, other people started catching on and they started getting the camera, so I couldn't get the camera no more. And then I felt a little defeated at the time because I knew like I was already in hell with debt, so I couldn't possibly afford a camera. And so I just started shooting stuff on my phone everywhere. And so fast forward to what pushed me towards the graduation too is, you know, I was just constantly like wanting to be a filmmaker, and it was just that kind of was what brought me out of the whole depression that I was in. Because initially, what I also didn't mention too, I was training to become a firefighter and EMT. And when I got through all that, you know, I could do it, but it wasn't in my heart, and I always was focused on film stuff. So I literally, after I got out of that depressive state and really discovered like in my heart that I could do this film stuff, and I felt like it was really God pushing me towards it, I cut off like everything. So no social life, no girls, no going out, nothing. And I literally just like would sit at home and watch YouTube at the minimum of 5 hours a day and just binge everything I could on film, on cameras. And then I didn't have a camera, so I would try it out on my phone. And
let me ask you this. I seen that kind of in your bio, but let me ask you personally, was there anyone that inspired once you started watching film, or you always wanted to be a filmmaker? Were there any filmmakers or directors or etc. who inspired you personally? Or was it just, like you said, freestyle or whatever?
It was kind of can you guys hear me? You guys hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think I went out.
I hear you.
It wasn't really any one person per se. I mean, I know of different Black filmmakers, but style wise, it wasn't. I could say there were YouTubers that inspired me. There's a Black filmmaker on YouTuber that really inspired me. His name is Darius Britt. His channel's name is D for Darius. Shout out to him. And he broke everything down as simple as like for a fifth grader to understand. And I would just binge watch his videos all the time. And then outside of just studying like cameras and whatnot, he would have times where he would just like study like the psychology of film and the psychology of what you're watching. What the impression of what the director meant for the audience to get at any one point in time. And it was all like, it was like peeling back layers. So like, for instance, when me and JT are filming, we look at it as like, there's, for the inexperienced filmmaker, you're just kind of looking at what looks like a cool image. But for us, we're looking at like, okay, what is this saying to me? And what is this saying about the message, overall? And are we conveying the writer's theme to the audience? And it's kind of like, in basketball, first you learn how to dribble. Then when you learn how to dribble real good, then you learn how many dribbles it takes you to get to the basket, and you really fine tune everything. And for me, when I watched D for Darius' channel, as well as there's another guy out there by the name of Brandon Lee. I don't know if any of you guys have heard from. Great travel.
Lee, yeah.
And learning from all their content and just binging it all the time, like watching it over and over and over again, to the point where like I knew it inside and out. It just kind of started to spill over into the work that I was doing. And it almost felt like I gave myself like my own crash course in my own film school education.
Right. That's dope. What was I gonna ask you about the? Oh, speaking of like you and JT, just going ahead, I'm gonna come back. But speaking of films, when you guys started making these films and doing your cinema photography, how did you guys know? Because just like you said, it's different angles and one way people may look at it, but you guys look at it different and how you present it. When did you guys know, or how to like hone your skill, like to know how to get good images across, opposed to just shooting a film? You guys, I'm sure, got cameras, you can just shoot a short film or whatever, and it's like, okay, cool, you're happy because you made it happen, it's dope. But when did you know, because you guys are at that level now where you guys make real like movies, man, like real cinema, and like you said, the angles and lighting and all that type of shit. How did you guys get to a point where you guys got that down? Like, sure, it was trial and error, or what? How was that process?
A lot of trial and error, but also we are just like, so I put it this way, we compare our work to sports a lot, especially when we're on set. And then JT's a Laker fan and I'm a Warriors fan, right? So he used to say, we're like Shaq and Kobe. I'm like, nah, we Steph and Clay. So I'm like, nah, we Steph and Kobe. And what I mean by that is, like, we are both so incredibly passionate about it that when we're creating, we almost have to tell ourselves to like take a step back and sometimes celebrate our work, because we literally are always looking for the smallest, tiniest detail to make a scene as impactful as possible. And then we push each other. Like, we really push each other. So I put it this way. What really blessed me about being able to become a part of Rider for Life was not even just being able to make movies, but the fact that like everybody pushes one another. And I mean, we've been at odds with one another, but that's because of how passionate we are to, do great with this. And when it comes to like JT, when I shot The Council with him, that was the first time that I ever even shot a movie, like shot a feature film. And for those who don't know,
real film, that's a dope ass film. We're gonna let everybody know where they can get everything, but The Council, incredible. That's the one right there. I think that put you guys over the top. But go ahead.
Definitely. Thank you for that. When it came to that film, what people might not know is like behind the scenes, a lot of times, we're looking at, we'll walk into a room, for instance, right? And then we'll see, okay, this is where the scene is going to take place. This is where this person is and that person is, and they walk here at this time. And then this is when they say the key line, and then this is where the action happens here. So we're looking at, okay, well, how can we shoot that where we can get people on the edge of their seat? How can we shoot that where we can make them feel what he's feeling in that moment or she's feeling in that moment? And then for me, I just study the impact of different shots. Like, I study the psychology of film a lot. So I'm always studying, like, how is this making us feel? One thing you can always do, for anybody who's looking to kind of up their skills in that area is, watch movies with the sound off. Or when you watch movies, watch like a few scenes in a row and then stop and then go back and watch those same few scenes in a row, and then do it like multiple times before you continue the movie on, and just observe how many different things you notice. And like, why they put the camera, this close opposed to far away.
Right.
Why they shot it from the side. There's every shot in the movie is saying something to you, and it would take a lot more for me to go into it. I don't want to.
That's dope. That's dope. I know that could take all night. That's dope, though. Okay, before I continue, I want to ask you about some of you guys' projects you've done. The Council, of course, being incredible. Sure, a fan favorite. That shit won you guys awards, everything. The Council is incredible.
Definitely.
But
thank you.
I got a 2-part question. First, what is one of your, because I don't want to just say one, because I'm sure that's hard. What is one of your favorite, or if not favorite, most impactful movies that you love, and that not only as a fan, but as from the director, side that you appreciate? Like I'm sure now that you're you direct and all that, you look at movies different. You know what I mean? You don't just look at it as the regular fan sometimes, because you're always critiquing or this and that, right? Just like people who do music. So what would you say is one of your favorite films, one of many, or I guess, that you can look at as a fan and look at as professional and really appreciate it all the way around?
Definitely. Wow. I have kind of been asked that, and it's so hard because there are so many.
Right.
There are so many. I can definitely say, I'm not sure if all y'all are familiar with a movie called Signs.
Signs.
With Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix. So that movie,
go check it out.
That movie is directed by M. Night Shyamalan. For those who don't know, it's about a family of farmers, and the earth at the time is being invaded by aliens, but you don't really see it. But what I love about that movie is everything just complements everything complements the genre, the story, and the characters to the T. And if the movie, when you watch it and you understand like film theory, you understand like if that movie was not shot the way it was, then it couldn't have had the impact that it was.
Right.
And I know you only said one, but if I could throw a few others in there. The Dark Knight Batman series, I love those. And man, there's so many. I would say probably any of Jordan Peele's films, because I love how Jordan Peele uses he uses a lot of different literary devices, and when I say that, I mean like he uses a lot of symbolism. A lot of things that you see in his movies have a deeper meaning, than what it shows on the screen.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned them, because coming from a filmmaker, these guys, Jordan and Peele, came with a whole different, like, as far as filmmaking. I know they do the other stuff, but filmmaking, right? Safe to say they came with a different style and approach, right? So you respect what they were doing with what they were doing? Or how was that coming from you? Like, I don't know. I'm not a filmmaker. I can see they use a whole different thing, and it worked,
Yeah. So what Jordan Peele does a lot of that I have a lot of respect for is he uses what's called Easter eggs in his films. So those who don't know, when you think of an Easter egg, you think of something that's hidden, right? So an Easter egg in film is something that you either see or you hear basically in the film, but it has a deeper meaning, or it could have an abstract meaning. It's kind of like a symbol. So for instance, if I can give you an example, there's when you watch Get Out, right?
Right.
One of Jordan Peele's first movies, right? There's a scene towards the end where after you find out just how racist the family is, you see the girl sitting on the bed, and they show her eating cereal, right? Now she's eating Fruit Loops, but she has the Fruit Loops in a dry bowl right here, and then she has a cup of milk here that she's sucking out of a straw. Now, the symbolism in that is she's got the colors separated from the white. These are things that like people don't often notice, but
right.
there's a lot of symbolism there. You'll notice in what they wear in the films a lot is blue, red, white, and blue. Symbolizing America, and at certain moments, when they're seeing who's gonna get Chris's body, and they're doing it over a game of bingo. But the way the game of bingo is set up, it's almost like they have his picture up on this block, so it's like he's on the auction block, like a slave. There's a lot of, they shoot it a certain way to show like different symbolism in there in terms of what's happening, and those are things that a lot of people who aren't in the film can kind of miss at times.
Right. Wow. Yeah, they do have a deep message, and that's different. I think their whole approach is like odd and abstract because they're originally like comedian, background, and they
Right.
bring the comedic side to their films. But like you said, it has a lot of messages and like a lot of different things going on. You know what I mean? That you got to catch. You know what I mean? But they still do it in a where it's meant to come across, I guess, in a comedy type way. So all of that, like you said, you got to take in and you got to catch it. You know what I mean? So look to them.
I think
go ahead.
comedy helps that as well too, because when you're a comic, everything about jokes is like a hidden message. A lot of comedians, they make jokes, but they really mean stuff behind those jokes.
Right. Yeah.
Look at Dave Chappelle today.
And you know what I've learned too? A couple comedians and people who do comedy have told me this. Like, you look at comedy and you laugh and then you're thinking these people, it's funny, but usually they say the comedians are the ones that have the darkest past and the whole gang of shit going on. They just have to do that to keep, that's what keeps them, you know what I mean, sane and stuff. But they're the ones that have the most, craziest stuff going on. You know what I mean? That you wouldn't even imagine.
Definitely.
I've been told, so yeah.
Definitely.
I want to ask you, speaking back on the projects you've done, you've done quite a few. Shout out to Writers for Life. What would you say is your most, like your baby? Yeah, two parts. Let me say the one that is your, because it could be two different things. Like, what is the one that you could say is your baby that you really like hold tight and dear? And then what could you say on the flip side is your favorite? Because that could be two different things. Your baby could be the one that you know that this is the one right here that taught me, and then this other one can be just a big project that blew up and it's just everyone loves it. But like you personally,
Definitely. The only way to really answer that question is I can't even say it's any one particular, because every project holds a deep place in my heart, and when it comes to each one like represents a different stage of growth for me and just growth for our team in general. And now also everyone represents a different genre, a different type of film. So quite frankly, I don't even think we've done our best work yet. So it's hard to even look at one of the ones we've done now, because they all feel like just, steps up to, so many bigger things. I love, I love Heart and Soul. I love The Council. I love Ujima's Village, but I love them all for different reasons. And the process of going through each of them is so different that it's hard to say like one of them is my baby.
Okay, let me ask you this, because you mentioned Ujima's Village. You've done other stuff too, but what is the difference then now between doing a film and doing a series like you did with Ujima's Village, which was incredible? I love Ujima's Village, but
Yes.
what's the difference doing like a film and then, like you say, like a series or whatever?
Well, it appears different, but the process of filming is a lot similar. I mean, a series you just kind of have to organize, a little better, because you could be filming in the same location that takes place in episode 1 and also episode 8. So then everybody has to remember, what could have changed in that time and whatnot. So you might have to focus on continuity a little more, but a lot of the process is pretty similar. When it came to Ujima's Village, that was fun because it was funny. We had laughs on set with Ujima's Village. There was it was a particular scene I loved in Ujima's Village at the end of it. So I think, like I said, that each one has a different, it calls for different things. Ujima's Village, we used a different kind of camera. Ujima's Village, we we shot it a little more for the genre because it was funny. So we didn't shoot it like a dramatic movie, or else that would have probably taken the comedy out of it. So that's another thing, you know, with like how we shoot the film.
Hold on, because now you're getting technical, and I like this, right? These are questions I have. What is the difference between, like you said, okay, we're not going to shoot it in this? How do you even, like, you know what I mean? Break that down for me. Like, okay, we're going to shoot it in a whole different way for the series. We're not going to shoot it dramatic, or just like you said. How do you go about that? Like, what is that process?
So when you first decide to pick up a project, you first, at least for me, I believe first you try to determine like what is the writer trying to do here? What is the writer trying to show here? Of course, it's the director who gets, you know, who puts everything, you know, in its final place. But, you know, if the writer is making a comedy, then we don't want to shoot it like a horror, because horror is shot different from comedy. Comedies, a lot of times you see there's a lot of bright lighting. Think of sitcoms. You know, think of you know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Think of I don't know, what was it, Seinfeld, Frasier. You know, think of, you know, when you see that stuff, it's not lit like scary movies. You know,
Right.
when you shoot a scary movie, a lot of times when you shoot something horror or thriller like, there's often more of a dark tone. Rooms tend to be lit darker. There's a lot of darker shadows on people's faces. For instance, the council had a lot of dark moments in it, right?
Right.
So the council and Ujima's village look vastly different. And then also too, you're just really looking at like, what does the story tell you? Like when you look at the council and you're reading the council before we shot it, it's like, obviously this is a dark film. So the characters are doing some very harsh shit. The characters are doing some very outlandish shit that they probably wouldn't want people to see in their, you know, if they weren't watching the movies and they were real people, you know, they're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't know about. So this is dark and gritty. You know, when it comes to Ujima's village, it was very comedic. So comedy, in order for people to focus in on the joke, you don't want to do too much to distract people.
Right. You gotta let them get it themselves.
Right.
Right. I get it. That I just wanted that take on that. That's pretty dope, man. That's when you guys are. That's when you know you real, like the talk. But you guys are real filmmakers, man. Real directors, and obviously you have the stats to prove it. I'm just not just saying that. You guys have the stats. I want to get into all that too. How it feels to win awards and go to film festivals and all this, because you guys are really in this shit now. But before I get to that, I want to ask you, as far as like, once you guys, I mean, how do we get to a point to where, okay, we're doing the short films, we're doing the things we're doing. How do we get to the point where you get here, you break these barriers, you know, we're official now? Like, is it a point that you know, we're official now, or we're just not regular filmmakers? Because you guys are really in the game now. You're making real feature films, and you know, like I said, getting awards and getting invited to film festivals. How do you get to that point right here where, okay, we break that threshold and now we're official, opposed to like minor major leagues? How does that work for young filmmakers?
Well, honestly, you dive in, you let go, and you let God. One thing that I can say, to answer your question, but dialing it back to, you know, the root of that is, what I learned from 5 is that we just set a plan and go, and God makes a way. Because
Right.
and I cannot chuck it up to anything else other than that, because, you know, when it comes to getting a lot of these things done, like there are so many times when we didn't know how we were going to pull things off, and we just did. And that's nothing but a testament to, you know, just prayer and, you know, God making a way. And everybody on our team, you know, is very spiritually grounded. Everybody on our team prays. You know, nobody does drugs, nobody smokes, nobody does any of that stuff that you see, like, I'll say in other settings that do film.
You guys
So
keep it all clean, keep it all the way 100. Professionals.
definitely, and well, we pride ourselves on that. And then also too, we know that we're making an impact on people's lives in what we do. So it's not about us, you know, it's about something much bigger. At times you can get very drawn into what you're doing because you're excited about shooting a scene that's either going to look cool, or it could be a cool stunt you're doing, or a very impactful scene that's going to move the audience and whatnot. But then when you get into that scene, you recognize that this is about something way bigger. I can't give away anything about it right now because it's still on the festival circuit, but like in Heart and Soul, there are some scenes that really, really move the audience. And when we were shooting them, even when you first read it in the script, you knew it was going to move people. And then when we got out there to shoot it, we knew it was going to move people. But then what it actually turned out to do was make an impact on the people who were acting it out in the scene, and change their lives for the better, like affected them, the things they had going on in their personal lives. And so once you see things like that happen, you understand that it's bigger than us. So like, to get back to what you were saying about the film festivals and stuff, we love that. We're always glad, we're always grateful. And that is, a big part of the journey. But the bigger part that we've learned over time through everything that we do is, it blesses other people. And that's the most important part. And I honestly believe too, that's why God pours into us, because we don't treat this like a selfish thing. We love it to the point where, we could go out there and be like Kobe scoring 81, but we understand like this is blessing other people. And when you see like I've personally seen people that we filmed with who were like on the verge of like suicide, or on the verge of just a whole lot of other bad things happening in their life, and the day that they got to film with us was just like, it restored fulfillment to their hearts. And you can't play with that.
Right. And I can piggyback off of that and say, man, what I love about you guys, I love your work, period. Your work speaks for itself. But the thing you just said right now was like the humbleness, the way you guys still, like, you guys are still the same people I knew, years ago when we first started interacting, and you guys are always down, like even like to come on the show. You guys always show up to our events or whatever we have going on, you support, so you just real people, man, and real genuine good people, humble, still the same people I know when I first met you. Even though you guys are doing big and great things, you guys are still the same. You guys keep it solid, you know what I mean? And you're just great people. And that's why we F with y'all, man. You know what I mean? The whole team, Queen Jean, DD, everyone, my whole team loves you guys, and it's always praises and just love your way, you know what I mean? And it never stops, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you guys for that, just for just staying real, man, and humble and being great people. And I know that, that's Rydaz for life, speak on, so salute to that. And I know we're all over the place, but I want to speak on Rydaz for Life briefly, because you guys are like almost like a conglomerate. You guys have different branches and factions and all type of stuff. Can you break down the whole Rydaz for Life family structure, everything, I mean, that you guys have going on that people can tap into?
Definitely. So we have Rydaz for Life Films. That's where we make our movies. We shoot music videos. We shoot all kinds of content, honestly, whatever God calls us to do, because we've shot commercials. Then we had a Patio Politics, that's our podcast.
Patio Politics.
You guys tap into G-Lew's episode too. That one was lit, man. I enjoyed that one. And but we do Patio Politics is every Tuesday. We got panels on there where we discuss a bunch of different broad topics, things that are relevant and going on. We really attempt to keep a family-like vibe in that, because there's a lot of things that people discuss on the internet nowadays where it gets so hostile, and we really, in our panels, when we discuss it, it may get a little tense, but it's more like that kind of tense when you're talking with your family in the living room, not that at each other's throats, that you see a lot of other areas of YouTube and the internet do. Of course, you got Rydaz for Life Records,
So hold on. Speaking of Rydaz for Life Records, because there's a lot of artists out there and all that. Do you guys like submit, like, do artists submit like their work? Do you guys sign people, or is it just, because I know you guys do all the soundtracks, everything to your films. Like, how do you guys go about your artists and everything? I know you guys have a tight family already, but artist wise, how does that work with Rydaz for Life Records, and how can someone maybe possibly want to get down with Rydaz for Life Records?
Message us. message us. And you know, one thing I love about JT, he's very, very serious and in love with, and takes what do you call it? Takes the utmost. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying, hold up. Since you mentioned JT, when are we gonna get this record, JT? Like, when are we getting this solo album, JT? Come on, homie. Like, talk to me, bro. I know I'm waiting, homie. JT, when are we getting this album, bro? I know you in the comments. Speak on it, but go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
It's coming. It's coming. But yeah, no, JT is very, very meticulous and very, very serious about the music, no matter what it comes to what we're doing. So you know, and then JT is, you know, man of God, he takes that very, very seriously. And that to me is what I think strengthens our relationship. Whether we're director, cinematographer on set, whether we're filming the podcast, no matter what we're doing. And that really is one thing that separates, you know, Rider for Life from any other thing that I do. Because, you know, when it comes to just us being a praying team, and then when it comes to us, everything that we do, I feel like, you know, you really have to pray on and feel that your spirit is right with, and you can't get nothing past JT, you know, and you can't, it's just, you know, I wouldn't admonish you even try. And so, like, I know good and well that when it comes to the music, you know, I honestly, I don't really do music. So when it comes to it, I know we get the right people, you know, and the people compliment it. I mean, the soundtracks that we've had for every single movie, every single song has, you know, is just hit. And even today, when I watch the movies at times and I just hear the songs in the background, I'm like, man, we really got that. And I'm like, it takes a certain kind of you know, discernment to like pick that out of artists, you know. And so that's why I say I credit JT for that, because you know, Rider for Life Records.
JT, the music, you like, I don't really do. Yeah, that's JT's thing. I get it. Okay, but who if you can speak on who do we have on Riders for Life Records as of now, like far as a roster or people we can look forward to?
Of course, you always have J Fifth. You have you have his brother DJ Infant J. Shout out to him. Too Smooth on the beat.
Smooth.
Yep. Sir Mac. You know, it's on and popping. You know, Rider for Life Records, they predate me. Like, it predates the time that I was on Rider for Life. So
you're pretty much saying, look, I don't deal with this music shit. That's JT, man. I got you, Mills. I got it, right? Okay, but back to Riders for Life Films, and let me say this, because I forgot to mention this earlier. Of course, we spoke on the council, the great films you guys have, but me personally, before the council is great. That's a film. But the short film you guys did that I forget the damn name, but you know the one I love, man. That shit, that had me. When I seen this, bro, I'm serious. I don't remember where I was when I seen it, but you know, incredible, bro. You know, the short film about the brother who's at home with his old lady, and he's pushing him to go out to work or get some money, and then he goes out, and you know, what's the name of that?
Hands Up, Don't Shoot.
Hands Up, Don't Shoot.
Yeah.
Incredible. That is my favorite right there, man. It just touched me, man.
That's definitely a fan favorite. That one, man, that predates me, and that's actually one of my favorites too. So, you know, every time I've seen that one, actually the first time I saw that was when I linked up with JT for the first time. They showed it at my college, and then I went up to JT that night, and you know, rest kind of became history after that, because then it became Frank Blue and everything else. But yeah, that film.
Oh my God. Hey, okay, now let me just say this. Now, I know I'm all over the place. Break down, can you, just since you spoke on Frank Blue, because I forgot about that. Can you break down the, not just discography, I don't know what you call it. Film.
Oh, the cinematography?
Photography, your catalog, everything that you guys have that people can go check out. and also if you can speak on the awards you guys have won.
Got it. So there's the first one. I don't know if JT will want me to speak on it, but his first one was DBA, Death by Association. Then you have so you had Hands Up, Don't Shoot. You have Frank Blue. You have Course of the Just, which is another short film. It's a faith-based short film. Y'all haven't seen
that one.
You haven't seen that one?
I don't think so. I'm just not. I don't think so.
I think I saw somebody in the comments mention that one, but yeah, that one.
Name? Okay, I don't know. I'll have to make sure do my fact checks. I'm not sure. But go ahead. If not, I will.
Okay, that one will definitely move you. So that one, to this day, I still love watching that one. That one it'll move you and convict you. Then we have The Council. We got Ujima's Village. We've got Heart and Soul. Heart and Soul is still touring the festivals right now, so y'all will see it soon enough. And I mean, so those are pretty much the catalog of our films. We have shot music videos. We shot other things in between, and of course we have our podcast, the Patio Politics. I think I mentioned that before. Patio Politics. You can check us out here on YouTube as well. Follow us on social media at The Patio Politics. We've got and I told you, Ride for Life Records, and I'm not really music.
Right. Yeah, you made that clear. But you know what I love about you guys? You guys are stay working, man. Like even with the patio look, because I know you guys are doing films, you're doing a lot, but I know the past year or so you really took on the Patio Politics like heavy. And I'm just rooting for you guys so much for that shit to like really, really pop off. I know it is, and the people who watch it know that's a great podcast, man. The Patio. Make sure you guys, if you haven't already, go look up or subscribe to The Patio with a DA Politics with a Z podcast. Man, it's dope. You know what I mean? Of course, I was on there, but it's so dope, and you guys have just really put in the work in over there. Because I know even with my episode, right, I filmed the shit, and I'm like, man, when is my shit coming out, man? Like, what the hell? And I had to realize that you guys do that much work. Because even Jasmine told me when I was there, she was like, even when I was there, you guys were filming like 2 other episodes. So I'm like, okay, I really, once I saw everything, I'm like, yeah, you guys are really putting in work, man. You know what I mean? And I applaud you for that.
Thank you. It's it's definitely something that it's one of those things that when you're in the midst of it, you feel that exhaustion like you would in sports or anything else, but afterwards, you appreciate the consistency, and I think it does a lot for other people. So in tune, it does a lot for us because a lot of times on episodes there are things that happen that are unexpected, and people experience breakthroughs, people experience self-enlightening, people mend relationships, people like there are things out there sometimes that are like beyond our control, and like I said, we just let go, let God, and you never know what's gonna happen on the patio.
Right. For real, but man, the people are really loving. I just can't wait. Like I said, it's already doing its thing, but I want to see the Patio Politics blow up like Drink Champs and all these, because you guys really have real. That's like a real podcast. There's no BS, none of that. Chitter chatter bullshit. They're talking about real things on there.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Every episode is about real shit, and those are the podcasts and the stuff we need to support. But we all know on this internet, we know, you guys know how the game goes. The real shit is like at the bottom. The bullshit is at the top.
Yeah.
But it's up to us and people like you all to keep it solid, homie, and don't stay true to what you're doing and what you love and what you know is right. And eventually the cream will rise to the top. So I just can't wait for that day to see. Like I said, it's already doing its thing, but I can't wait to see when I'm seeing that shit up there, like, man, where it's supposed to be. So salute to the Patio Politics. Keep doing that shit, man. You guys are doing it, and you inspire us all.
Definitely. Thank you. And shout out to y'all as well. Same to y'all. Because I'll say this, after doing it, I was never a podcaster before. And I look at it now and I'm like, I have so much respect for y'all and everybody else who does this and sticks to I won't even say just real content, but is not out to like keep up with the Joneses of the internet. You know, like just being real about what you talk about. Because I think we talk about similar topics to what the others do out there, but it's not in such like a media propaganda type of way. It's just like I said, like we can have disagreements, but it's like when you're talking to your family in the living room and after a family reunion and everybody just, you know, sipping on something, and it's not going to get to a place where everybody's trying to fight. You know, it's just more so like these are things we disagree with, or these are things that are going on and they need to be discussed. And the way I look at it now is so many platforms are so worried about blowing up with numbers, but it's like, well, if you don't even know the people that are following you, how do you know that they even support your message for a genuine reason?
Right.
Like,
wow.
You know, I know people who have Instagram followers that they paid for. You can look on their posts and see that, you know, 98% of them don't even like or comment on the post. So it's like, are they really messing with you, or is that just there for a, you know, a political statement?
That's deep, bro. That's deep. That's real deep. Tell me this, because I saw this too, about some of the people you admire, and I'm only asking this because I seen the breakdown of it, and that shows a lot about you. You know what I mean? So, talk about the people you not look up to, but just admire, you know, or inspire you.
Definitely. So my biggest life inspiration, I would have to say, is my great grandfather. My great grandfather named Charles Thomas Sr. Just a great man inside and out. He was. It's so much that I could describe about him. It would take a whole show to do, and he was so inspiring to me because he became the living example of, like, I feel like what a man should be, and also having like made plenty of mistakes in his life, but also like owning them. And he was one of those people that had such an impact on people that not only do you remember him after he's gone, but I mean, it's been, he left here in 2005 and I'm still convicted. Like, even when I told you when I was going through depression and stuff,
right?
He was also kind of what dawned upon my spirit a lot, because I remember times when I was messing up and I'm like, man, grandpa would be on me right now. Like, grandpa would hate to see this. And if I could go down a list of describing things that make him great, but I'll just give you guys this. When he was dying from cancer, and he had such an impact, because I grew up in East Oakland, California. For those of y'all who don't
East
know.
Oakland, yeah, that's right.
He had such an impact on people that when he was on his deathbed, there were literally like crackheads and just thugs and people who was all out in the streets doing all kind of foul stuff that would come to his house and ask, like, they would straighten up and ask if they could come into his house and say hello to him and you know, just pay their respects to him, you know, because everybody on the block knew that he was passing away. I mean, he used to do nice things for people. Like, people walk down the block and sometimes he may just hand them like a bag of fruit, or just you know, he was a very giving person. He was always he was a very, very devoted man of his faith. Just, if I could describe everything about him, it was like you did not want to disappoint him. So that was my greatest influence, my greatest inspiration. You know, my parents, even my younger brother. I got my younger brother that's 5 years younger than me, but he does amazing in everything that he does, and it's like, even me being his older brother, I'm inspired by him.
Right. That's dope.
My team, you know, my Rider for Life team, definitely all of them in various different ways, individually, because they hold me accountable. And there have been times when, like, I kind of moved and acted like a know-it-all, but having to like put myself, you know, back in my place and recognize that, like, okay, like, people out here trying to help me. And people oftentimes can think, or at least in this generation, because I see it a lot as a teacher, sometimes people can think that somebody's trying to help you is somebody who's enabling you or giving you your way all the time, not somebody who's, you know, going to tell you when you're wrong.
Right.
So definitely my team, you know, my parents, my family, just my family in general.
That's dope. That's dope. Hold on. Now I skipped over a couple of things because you brought it back to my attention. You speaking about teaching and all that. You're a teacher. So a couple things. Hold on. You being a teacher, I want to speak on that briefly. How did you hold on, let me go back to this first because in your bio too, like you just said when I talked about the music thing, you're like that's JT's thing. I don't deal with the music. And you mentioned that you don't really have a favorite artist. But when it comes to music, like we all love music and that's kind of, you know, spiritual like or what can I say? Uh you know, when you just chilling, you just want to vibe out. Like far as okay, but you don't have a favorite artist. What do you listen to when you just like stay in your car or at the crib chilling? You know what I mean? You put on something that's gonna help you just vibe out. What are you bumping, man?
Definitely. I love soul. So I can't say a single artist, but just soul in general. Soul, neo soul. And when I'm just vibing a lot of times, because a lot of times like I can be sitting here and just editing. And sometimes
Right.
I'm editing stuff that doesn't have sound. So if it's gonna take me some hours, a lot of times I'll put on like neo soul instrumental mixes that go on in the background. And you know, you might get kind of a Jill Scott vibe, you might get kind of a you know, dramatics or
No, you've been hanging around JT. You said dramatic. So hold on. So shout out to JT. He know what I'm talking about. But so say so you really don't because in your bio you said that I don't have a favorite artist, and for you to say that you put on instrumentals, you really don't have a favorite. So it's not like you can put on even Neil Soul. I put on music or Jill Scott or Erica Badu or even rap. I put on some Tupac. You don't even do none of that. You just like bump instrumentals.
I do. I bump instrumentals often more than lyrical music. I'll say this. I do listen to like lyrical music if I'm in the gym.
Right. Yeah.
But
What part? Yeah, I see you in the gym, homie. So what do you do when you in the gym? You got your earbuds, whatever pods. What are you bumping?
I will bump more like modern stuff. So I will listen to like, you know, possibly some Drake. I will
Okay.
possibly listen to some I listen to underground too. So like Gangstar.
Okay.
Um yeah, I used to I'll say when I was a lot younger, I used to listen to Gangstar a lot. But I also listen to like alternative like Linkin Park and
Okay.
you know, but that's like when I'm working out, like I need to feel that music. When I'm in a chill state, I think the instrumentals kind of keep my mind in a flow, you know, and
Dude,
other
I
kind
respect
I'll
that.
vibe out to, you know, like soul music, I'll start singing if I listen to too much, you know, with lyrics. So
Right. No, I respect that, Mills. Like you, I just wanted to ask you because I'm like I want to really see just like and you know that's dope. I respect that, bro. Um, now getting back to my other, I just want to touch on the music thing because I really wanted to know what you really vibe out to. Like, if you really, you know, and you answered that. So back to what I was speaking on before. Um, what was I on? I forgot. I was gonna
you
ask.
talking about you were getting into teaching, and then I did want to say too, mainly
Yes.
inspirational too. I'll say I think I mentioned my parents, but definitely I'll say my mom. My mom hugely, and I have seen my mom conquer so many hurdles in life and still maintain like the nice and beautiful spirit that she has inside while toughing out so many things. Uh, then I have my dad to thank for, especially like for baseball. My dad taught me how to play every single position, and you know, without that, I probably wouldn't have won a spar. So just want to throw that out there too.
Shout out to your parents, your family, whoever raised you, because regardless of all the stuff you told me, all the obstacles and different things, I still see that you were raised right, homie. Like I could like that shit when that happens, it never goes away. You know what I
That,
mean? So I can see and just for you to pick up your parents, man, salute to them because they did a phenomenal job, man. You're a great young man, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm glad I got to interview tonight because I learned a lot. But I just want to say this, even before this, like you were Tyre, you were the one and I wasn't even that close with you. Like we always, chop it up and just respect. And I'm probably more closer with JT, but you always the one that's right there. Like whenever I'm doing shit or whatever, like even the one of the first events, you were there to the end. Like everyone already bumped out. You were there kicking it with me and just showing love. And then the last event, we even came when I know it was some uncomfortable situations or whatever. You were there representing. Like you always right there, man. Even tonight came through for me. So I want to salute you personally, bro, for just always, standing 10 toes with your boy G-Lew, man. You know what I mean? On some real shit, bro.
Man,
Solid for that, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. But yeah, going to the teaching thing, because I want to know, how did you, even now you're like a substitute teacher, like how you got so many hats you wear and so much shit you've done. Like I don't even know, I forget, but tell us about the teaching thing.
Definitely. So substitute teaching, I got into out of college after I left my original full-time job I had while I was working in college. And I was looking for something to do, but I've always kind of been inspired by helping kids. I had never been a direct teacher, but I had like kind of coached some kids through baseball, through this academy that I used to play in when I was a teenager. And then I had done like camps and whatnot before, but then when I did substitute teaching for the first time, it was interesting because like when I first got there, I thought this was like just a job. Then when I actually got in there, I'm like, oh, I'm really like a real ass teacher. Like,
hold up, Tyre. So who are you teaching? Like what grade? Because that's that can go from 1 to 100 fast. So what are you teaching? What grade?
So I have done every single grade out there, but I do now. I stick to high school, man. I have to. Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say elementary, high school. Look, middle school and high school is like that's a different level, brother. You got to have some real patience. That's why you probably just a substitute teacher. Talk about that.
You touched on a big point there. But I think when it comes to elementary, for one, you gotta have patience, man. And here's the thing too. A lot of what I'm getting at too, people have to understand the climate of teaching in schools right now to understand this stuff. So like, we're at a point now where class sizes are rising. I mean, even today, can you guys believe I had a PE class of 73 students, and I'm not gonna name the school, but I started asking some questions because I was like, "Is this even legal?"
Hold on, Tyre. Is that Pops there? You said Tyre Mills the third. Yeah, I know you're the fourth. So it gotta be Pops. I gotta shout out Pops if that's Pops. Right quick. I'm sorry.
You see, he's got the fire emoji too. My dad's a firefighter.
Shout out to Tyre Mills the third. Salute, sir. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to show love to your Pops, man. Thank you for tapping in. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, most definitely. But so understanding the climate of the schools now, so you can understand like where I'm coming from with a lot of this. Like I told you today, I had a PE class of kids of over 73, and I even started asking questions. I'm like, is this legal? I cannot even watch this many kids.
Right.
Not only that, but you're in an era now where people weren't raised like they were in previous generations.
That's what I'm saying. It's different right now, bro. It's different.
And so the thing I see the most of is, at least in previous generations, when you had class clowns or when people was doing wrong, you felt some kind of conviction about it. Nowadays, these kids will not only be rebellious, but they will double down. And it gets to a point where they almost can't even realize what they're doing. And so I stick to high school because 9 times out of 10, high school students kind of have it together. Like they've been in school long enough. They care about, what they're doing at the next level. And if they don't, I don't want to say they're kind of lost at that point, or they need more than you can give them. But most of the time, high school kids are kind of like, I don't want to say easier to reach, but what I like most about them is not even so much just teaching them, but like sometimes I go off task or off the curriculum and just start having like heart-to-heart talks with them. And I noticed the most important thing to do with them a lot of times is inspire them to understand why they're in school and why they need to learn. So like you know, I know this sometimes rubs people who grew up in the streets the wrong way, but one of the things that I despise the most is when I hear people say things like, you know, oh, school isn't for me, or I had a teacher that told me I wouldn't amount to nothing, and I'm like, 9 times out of 10, there are so many of us doing this for very little compensation that that can't possibly be the case. Most teachers are there because the kids are keeping them there because they're putting up with a lot of BS outside of it. So when I hear that, a lot of times it's coming from kids who don't understand why. So like you'll hear the classic thing kids say like, why we got to learn this math? I'm never going to use this in life. And so I'll like pull them aside and talk about like, hey, what are you trying to do? I'm like, oh, I'm trying to be a soccer player and I'm trying to, you know, I don't really need school to be successful in that. And I'm like, okay, well, if you don't have college, then who you gonna play for? Because if you're not getting recruited right out of high school, you're not going straight to the World Cup. I'm like, you might have a better chance if you actually go play for a school. And oh, by the way, this is what you need to learn math for, because if you want to have a business, you're gonna need to learn how to break down your finances this way, or you're gonna need to learn how to read charts and ratios, and then I'll start being like, look, if you want to make this much money, you need to understand how to do this equation, and then their minds start like, oh, I can apply this, or you know, writing. Like I have a lot of students that I regret to say, but I come across a lot of high school seniors that struggle to write physically because all the kids are on laptops now.
Right.
So,
so
yeah,
that's the difference.
yeah. Most schools you go to now, some schools lease out laptops, and then sometimes they get laptops in the beginning of the day, and they use that all day, so they never write. So their pen is
so that's the new thing. I didn't think about that. That is something new from what I remember in school. You know, but that makes sense from what's going on. Hold on, let me speak briefly because we have a couple. I noticed a couple people in my chat that I know personally. They're teachers too. Like Elliot said, you know, little one, she's taught K through 12, and props to you. And the homie E Visions, I know he deals with kids, high school kids. I've already found their way. So they both agree with you that they prefer high school as well, and that's interesting because I would think the opposite. Like, but now that you've talked about it, it makes more sense. I was thinking, you know, these high school kids is the one really, you know, all type of shit is going on with them, you know, but the little ones, they have stuff going on, but I guess it is a little more different because not only do they have things going on, but it's harder to, you know, probably reach them as well with their attitudes and all the little things. So I guess that does make sense. And I'm seeing they agree too. I was thinking the opposite. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What was something else I missed?
You know, I can speak on this as well too, real quick. When it comes to like what they're probably saying too, I don't know if you've talked to them on this topic before, but I think we all kind of have a heart to reach all the kids. But there's something about like when you're talking to high school kids, especially when you get in front of them and they start asking you questions. Like, for instance, you get in the classroom a lot of times and kids will ask you things like, they're like, you look like that dude from Black Panther. Do you have a wife? How old are you? Where did you go at? And it's like, what you come to realize a lot of times is like, they're sizing you up. Like, kids will shit test you a lot. And they will, even if they like you, if they really like you, they'll still shit test you a lot. And a lot of times they're looking to see like if they can identify with you. And then when you pull them aside a lot of times and you share like things that you have in common with them, like a lot of times I ask the boys like what sports you play. Almost all the boys in school now, because they don't get enough time outside, you know, they have a lot of aggression. They don't get to get out if they ain't playing football or wrestling. And they love sports, you know, and so they ask me that a lot of times, like, did you play football? Did you play basketball? You know, and then that spurs a whole conversation. And there's different ways that you connect with them outside of the work that then builds that respect. So then you can get them to do tasks a lot of times they don't want to do. And a lot of teachers that are out of touch with the students don't take the time to do that.
You know what? I'm glad that you even spoke about this because now that I think about it, it is good to have people like you said, in the high schools and things of that nature, because I can think back when I was in high school, you know what I mean? I was fucking up, bro, you know, but I didn't have teachers like that's the importance I think it is. Like you just spoke on and how you just said, look, I mean, I have a student who's not much inspired or will say, okay, what are we doing this math for? Because I used to even think that when you get to algebra and all that extra shit, you like, man, that's when I struggle with the most. I'm like, we don't even need this shit,
Yeah.
But like you said, you can take a student and pull them to the side and say, look, it's not even about that. What are you trying to do? Well, we didn't have teachers like that. So to have, like you said, younger teachers that understand the students or of color and, come from the backgrounds we do, you can interact and I understand that now. That makes a lot of sense. But you got to think back in the day, we didn't have teachers like that. So I think that is important to have more teachers like you and to do this, like what you just said. It makes a lot of sense now. I just wanted to add that.
Definitely. And you know what? I can say too, I understand where you're coming from because I've subbed at, I don't know, it must have been 100 different schools at this point across the county. And when I can look at what I come across the most is there is a divide between certain teachers that are much older and they don't understand that like this generation is not respond to like benevolent dictator type teachers, especially when you don't look like it. And also a lot of times what you notice is that kids aren't really saying no to doing the hard work. They're saying, no, I don't trust you. So, like you can be a teacher that's a hard ass, but you have to have earned that. It's kind of like a coach that yells at kids and is very, very hard on them. Yeah,
they gotta respect.
Right, and they've earned that. Like, I mean, my high school coach was that. My quick story, especially since my dad's in the comments. My dad and my high school baseball coach played together on the same team. And I was good at baseball, but when I got there too, I also thought that was going to kind of like, I don't say help me have a shoe in the door or whatnot. When I got out there for that first day of conditioning, it was like that scene in Remember the Titans when Denzel came out. He was like, almost like he didn't even know me. He was on my head as much as he was everybody else. Like, I don't care that I know your dad. Like, and for him being on me like that, and everybody else, earned him the respect. And a lot of students want to be cared about. And after a while, you start realizing like they want more work. They want actually what you're going to tell them to do. They just want to know that you care because a lot of teachers don't take the time to do that. A lot of teachers are out of touch. Believe it or not, I've even had certain white teachers come and get me to try to speak to black and brown kids. And I see what they're doing. But then again, I do it because I'm like, yeah, ain't nobody else here going to do it. And they can't
I think, and that's a big part of what you just said was so important, that a lot of times they'll just think the kids are dumb or they don't want to learn it. But a lot of the times is, like you say, gaining their respect first. If they feel they can respect you or not even respect or can relate, because sometimes some of the kids do have issues or maybe learning disabilities or things, but they're not going to let you know that because they don't feel, that respect or just feel they can open up to you yet. So they'll keep it boxed in, but they really want help, like you said. But if they can't relate to you, they're not going to open up to you. So when they can relate and open up, that opens up a whole new realm. And if kids can get the help they need and you can teach them better,
And if I can add something there too, because quick story about something that happened today, and I've come across it many times. I had a student today, and I've been dealing with in different classes all week long. Very bright, smart, young black girl, 8th grade, very, very smart. This girl was writing a novel, wrote half the novel and gave up on it. So I started asking her more questions about, I was like, why? I was like, you love to write. Why did you stop writing? Oh, well, mister, I'm dyslexic. And, once I found out, I don't think that my writing is going to be, basically she didn't think like her book was going to be up to par. And I'm like, well, who told you that? And I was like, how many other kids out here are writing books in the 8th grade?
Right.
Like writing whole books with chapters. And she's like, yeah, well, I deleted it all. And I'm like, why did you do that? I'm like, why? Because somebody else told you were dyslexic? And that happens a lot in the schools. Like a lot of times it's our kids that are labeled something. And it took me until becoming a teacher to learn too that follows them for a while. And they internalize that. And people think that they're doing them like they think they're helping them by helping them identify, oh, you're this way. So this is the kind of modified education we need to give you. When 9 times out of 10, ADHD and all that stuff that they talk about, it's just a lot of people have trouble concentrating on stuff they're disinterested in.
Well,
So you have
look, let me speak on that. Let me speak on that ADHD and dyslexia. When do we get to a point where we even get to detect these things or category? Because even when I came up, these are things we didn't even hear about. You know what I mean? Even, and I'm only saying this because fast forward to now where we have what they call mental illness, or people need mental help, and we have counseling and things, all these tools now. But you know, when we came up, well, I'm gonna speak for me personally. You're a little younger than me, so I'm speaking for me personally. When I was coming up, we didn't hear none of this stuff, mental health, none of that. You just had issues, you dealt with them. We didn't know so we didn't know even what we had going on to deal with or how to deal with. We just dealt with it because we had to, you know, keep our head up, or just deal with it. Like moms or dad, they didn't have time. Not even to say their fault. I'm not saying. I'm just saying everything. We just had to deal with it, bro. So we didn't even know these things. Even talking about dyslexia and ADHD, I hear that a lot now these days. But back in the day, we may have had these things and not even known it. These might have been the problems we had that hindered us. You know what I mean? I'm gonna speak for even me. I had issues in school. You know, I didn't have attention span. I didn't long enough to, you know what I mean? So, but I could have had issues and didn't know.
But see, I'll tell you one thing, G-Lew. I personally, this is me personally. I won't say I have any factual evidence to back this up. I personally believe, if not almost all of that shit is bullcrap. Right. And when I say that, I mean it, because you can't tell me that somebody has ADHD if they can pay attention to something that they understand, and just because they don't want to listen to you talk about Paul Revere for an hour when they're a black person and they know Paul Revere was a slave owner and they don't care. I'm just giving an example, but you know, or they're learning about some topic that you haven't explained to them the importance of, and they just like, everybody falls asleep on that. I mean, ask half the adults out there who are diagnosing it, if they want to go pay attention to something on YouTube they have no interest in for 3 hours.
Right.
You know, and not only that, a lot of classes nowadays, in some of the schools I go to, they have what's called a block schedule. So for those people that don't know what a block schedule is, it's when you don't go to every single class every day. So you may have 6 classes and you go to period 1 through 3 on Monday. Then you go to 4 through 6 on Tuesday. Then Wednesday you may have all your classes, but they may be short. But then Thursday, Friday is the same thing. And they do that so that your classes can be longer. But then by having your classes longer, it's harder to maintain the attention of students. Because honestly, even for me, when I'm in a block schedule school, after the first hour and some change is up, I've checked out. So I understand, like, students.
Okay, I used to be crazy because I'm like, that was my problem a lot of times. You know, okay, let me speak on this too. I know I'm all over the place again, but you're bringing up so many things I want to touch on personally. I always used to think about speaking on the curriculum of schools, because now you're up to date. You know, you're in tune. You're teaching at this level in 2023. At what point, I don't even know. I haven't been in school for years, so I don't even know. But at what point, if any, or has there been any changes in the curriculum, the things that kids learn? Because as we all know, back when I was growing up, or even back way before me, the things that they teach in school are a lot of times, just like we spoke on earlier, for whether it be math, but math is different. But say just for instance, history, and a lot of things they teach, we know first and foremost are a lot of times not true, or shit that we can't relate to, you know what I mean? And doesn't have anything to do with our real history, but they expect us to be in tune to it. So at any point, are we seeing a difference in curriculum? Are they ever going to change or update the system, the things that kids learn? Like, I'm sure at one point you have to update the system, right?
Quite frankly, that's something I've been wrestling with myself for a while, wondering, because I do charter schools, and charters are becoming more and more popular. You know, it's kind of like everything is a part of the same system, right? So you start noticing how they're in the political agenda, they're dissing the public schools and saying the public schools aren't doing much, but it's quite frankly, the public schools have more resources a lot of times than the charter schools. And then the charter schools kind of hide under this pretense that they're similar to private schools, right? That you're supposed to be getting something better, and it's a customized type of community that's meant to help you better than the public schools can. But then most charter schools I've been to are underfunded. They lack resources. Uh, they kind of try to spin the same narrative and curriculum as you see in the public schools, so it's not really all that different. I haven't really been in religious schools, so I don't know if they play a different factor. But I do know that like a lot of what you see now is based on profit. So I mean, it's probably always been that way. But like for instance, part of the reason why we have disciplinary problems now, they don't suspend kids no more.
Right.
They don't. I mean, they wait to expel kids after like a school shooting or after a stabbing or after something that horrible has happened, even when the signs were there months, if not a year or two before, you know, and it's because they can't getting rid of a kid is getting rid of money that comes in.
And look, does that break down why we have, I didn't
Wait, hold on.
Public, private. Are we
I'm sorry,
good?
can you repeat that? You kind of went out for a second. Can you repeat that?
Okay, I was gonna say, speaking on that breakdown, is that a reason why we have public and private, and why private schools tend to usually do better? Because I'm only gonna say this because I was one that never understood it when I was a kid, but I will say one year my mom did put me in private school, right? Because I was having this, you know, and she just went, okay, let me get my son, and she put me in a private school. The one year I will say I hated it too, and once I did the private school and I excelled, I did everything. I was like, okay, can I go back to, you know what I mean? Because that's just when I was going to high school, and I will say this: my mom put me back a grade. I hated that shit in 8th grade, and but she put me in a private school that year, and I can honestly say that year I was in private school, I excelled in like every level. You know what I mean? And did great, so good that I did great. But once I was done that year, you know, because my mom promised me, and I wanted to go back to public school, and I can say when I did go back, I went back to fucking up again. You know what I mean? But what is it? Can we honestly say the difference with private and public and what they do, or you know, I don't know, from your perspective?
So I see your friend Elia put in the comments, private is for profit, which that is correct. However, I will say that I can't knock private for the fact that, like, similar to what you said, everybody I know who has said they attended private, I've never been to a private school.
I hated that shit though. I excelled, but I hated it. I couldn't wait to get back to public, but I hated it. But I can honestly say, you know, I did better. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll put it to you this way. It depends, not so much whether the school is public, private, or even charter, but more so like what is the school fostering for the student. So I'll give you an example. I do charter schools, right? But not every charter school is the same. Right. And then I'll give you an example. So the school I was going to, I told you that was like way overbooked. There's a chain of things that you see happening that lead to failure, I believe. So for instance, the students there have a lot of behavioral issues. They are very, very disrespectful. And I'm talking about they're even disrespectful to the women and older women. Like, you know, there's a time when like you might talk back to teachers, but it's like when you see somebody that reminds you of somebody's grandmama and you still talking to them like they another dude off the street, you know, you got no morals, no respect. It can get that bad at times. Now, one thing that I explained to one of the staff there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense." I'm like, think about this: the kids are showing you a lot of aggression, and they have a lot of energy. They won't sit down, and they're constantly talking. Right? If they're doing that, they don't have any sports. If they don't have any sports in the school, or they don't have enough sports in the school that complement them. So not having sports means you don't have a way to compete with other schools. If you don't compete with other schools, you don't have school spirit, because school spirit comes from getting behind, you know, your own alma mater against your rival schools or whoever else is across town, right? When you have sports and you have other things that you compete against other places with, that puts pride in the kids to want to do well, because, you know, it's like for me in Oakland, I went to Oakland High School and our rival was called Skyline. I don't know about in LA. I know like y'all probably have, you know, what is it, like Dorsey, Washington.
Dorsey, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
if
all
those,
those.
but whoever,
Yeah.
whoever's from the east side, whoever from the west side, but whether
Fremont.
Fremont. I know that's JT in the
That's
comments.
JT. JC's the East Sider. Hey, and hold on. Shout out to, now that I just thought about it, shout out to Elliot in the comments. I think she's from Hayward as well. That's why she I just thought about it. She rocking with you so tough. She's a fellow Bay Area. I think she's from Hayward too, if I'm not mistaken, Elliot. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. Shout out to Elliot. Yeah, Bay Area. But yeah, just going down the chain of all that stuff. So you lack sports, or you lack anything, and a lot of private schools. I'm not a private schools. A lot of charter schools lack this, and so when you lack those things, you don't give the students anything to necessarily like believe in and get behind. Because for instance, I'm pretty sure you remember when you was in school, there were dudes that were good at sports, but they could never keep their grades up, right? Well, now a lot of places I go, they don't even really push the GPA requirement so much anymore. Like they try all the loopholes to get around it instead of just telling the student like do better.
Shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, back in the day, like if I remember the first time I didn't have my grades together and my parents made me still go to my game and I had to sit in the bleachers with my uniform on, embarrassed. Wow. And I'm like, nowadays it's just like, oh, what can he do to bring his grade up? Well, and it's like, well, he ain't done nothing for the past 6 weeks. Why would I raise it today? No, he can't play. And I made a kid sit out of a soccer game one time and people got pissed at it. But I'm like, if you're not fostering a environment for the kids to realize like your academics needs to come before sports, they're not gonna push themselves. They're not gonna have no school spirit. So a lot of times, because they're focused on getting students, they miss this stuff.
But Mills, I think that's been going on. I know in more cases different than others, but I think not all, but the ones that are like probably the stars, the high school jocks, they've been getting away with this shit. Like, they're not good at the grades, but they find a way to help them pass or get through because those are the stars. I think that's been going on, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that part I agree with in the sense of it happens everywhere. But I'm talking about more so like, I guess the reason I brought up the example I did is because I see them constantly not pouring into things that develop the environment around the kids. So like for instance, I went to a school in downtown LA where they had a college fair, and the teachers around the school were actually discouraging the kids from going to the booths where the black colleges were. And when I talked to the other black teachers at the school, and I said, does this happen all the time? And they're like, oh yeah, all the time. They're like, that's why in our classes, when it comes to Black History Month, we go hard. And then we tell the students to go hard. And then we be like, y'all, get on your phones and make this go viral and make this something big. Because if you don't, they won't.
Hey, Mills, speaking on that, kids of color, different schools or whatever, what's your take on HBCUs, and would you encourage a kid of color to go to HBCU or not? Because that goes back to even the private and thing. It's a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows, or pros and cons, even with that stuff. What is your take on HBCUs?
So I used to kind of be against it, only because I thought like once you get out of it, the real world is not like that. Right. However, I'm pro college period these days. And the reason being is because college is more about like people being able to go somewhere where they have, a great opportunity, and to develop themselves. And a lot of my students, even the ones who were just insanely out of control, if you were to put them on a college campus and put them slightly around some better people, that might be the one thing that saves their life. And I think too, the reason why I would say HBCUs matter is because not just black kids, but brown kids as well. But, mainly a lot of our kids, they really don't find their identity until they go there. And I've seen students before that were like class clowns here, and then they go to their HBCU and they feel it with so much pride. They're proud to be black. They didn't learn about their culture. And they didn't flip the whole 180 with how they are as a student. And that's why I said like a lot of students don't have the they don't know why they're in school. Like, they don't know why what they're doing is necessary and valuable. So it ties into when you're going to an HBCU as much as it does in high school. And a lot of them, I think that's what we need HBCUs for, actually, because a lot of people really don't find themselves until they go there. Like, I didn't even go to an HBCU. I went to Cal State Northridge out here in the Valley, but I found the Black community and I found the Pan African Studies department. And when I found like Black studies classes and found like a renewed sense of self, and I was like, wow, I can actually go to school and learn about myself and my own people, like in official classes, not just family pulling you aside, telling you to watch Roots. You know, it's
Right.
And that's what I think we need them for. You know, it sounds like a small deal to other people, but most of our people, especially our students, don't understand purpose in education until they go there.
Right. That's dope. I'm glad. I'm glad we even touched on that. I wanted to touch on because once we got deeper, I wanted to dwell into that. What you thought about the HBCUs, being that you were a student that went to college, and now that you're a teacher, and something else you touched on, like you said, you can peep out certain students you know that are gonna be, like you said, out of control, or the one. Are you able to? Let me say this: are you able to detect the students you know? Okay, maybe like you just said earlier, you could pull them to the side. Maybe the ones you know are not fit, because you know everyone is not fit to go to college. Someone may need a trade. Someone may need to do this and that, but they still don't know what to do, so they go a different direction. Are you able to detect certain students and what? Not saying what they can be or become, because we don't know that, but able to see, okay, he may not be fit for this. He may not like. Are you able to detect that and able to differentiate and speak to these kids in the languages they can understand to help them?
Definitely, and I'm actually still working at that every day. It took me a while to even learn that that's what I was supposed to do, because the school that I was at, even today and most of this week, what's interesting is what people fail to realize, and they don't tell a lot of times. They just tell you that students are bad. A lot of times, the ones who have the worst behavior issues have some kind of hidden talent somewhere else that they don't know about, and even their teachers haven't discovered. So for instance, the school I was telling you about that I was at, a student that was very, very disrespectful. When I was telling you, he was like talking to, the older teachers in a real foul way. I had to do a student review with him, which is like when you pull them out of class and check up on them and see how they doing and kind of do a progress report with them outside of their class. And when I'm actually having a heart-to-heart with this dude and finding out about him and his work, and I'm like, wow, all your teachers say you're very, very smart, and all your teachers say that you're very, very articulate. I pulled him out of his speech class, and he was like, man, mister, I was about to go up. I'm like, oh, so you like speaking? He's like, yeah, man, I can speak in public in front of everybody. I was like, did you know that public speaking is actually a skill? I was like, so you ain't got to cuss people out. Like, you can learn how to articulate your speech and become a powerful speaker. I'm like, have you ever thought about, you just kind of open their eyes up to things that they don't even know. Like, have you ever thought about pursuing this? Have you ever thought about, there's a student council where you can go and speak at the Capitol in front of California? Like, really? I was like, yeah, up in Sacramento. There are a lot of things that they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. And a lot of kids that I have found that are like class clowns, they're really good at math. So they're lying when they say like, I don't know how to do this, mister. I don't want to do this. They're really good at it. They just, they need some direction. And a lot of times teachers just lose patience with them. And I've noticed a lot of times, like when you unlock what they can do outside of sports, because a lot of them only think they can do sports. But when you unlock what they can do outside of it, then all kind of things start going off in their head, and then they just need it kind of nurtured, because they'll give up on it at first. But the more and more you keep instilling it in them, like the girl I told you about who was writing a novel, and literally because when they decided to diagnose her with dyslexia, she gave up on writing a novel.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Lena Lokes. Miss Contreras. Hey, you again, this just makes me thankful, bro. I'm glad we're even speaking of. I know we've been all over the place, but every conversation we've dwelled into is important, And again, I'm thankful. Again, like I spoke on earlier, you being a teacher, I'm glad we even touched on this topic, because this took us here, right where we are now. And I think it's important again to have teachers like you. Now I'm glad that you are a substitute teacher at whatever capacity, because you're the teacher that we need. Like I when I keep hearing you, I'm going back to me even as a student, thinking, these are the type of teachers we needed, you know what I mean, that probably could have helped us, because a lot of times kids now they'll what's the word I'm looking for? They'll just distance. They'll get to a point where they say, I'm cool all the way around. I ain't even. They may be even in class, but they're not even there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you have a teacher like you that can pull someone to the side, a student they may be having issues or may not be all the way involved or whatever, because he has in his mind it's some bullshit. When you pull them to the side and help them understand, man, look here, whatever, man, you can save a lot of kids that way. So I'm actually glad, man, you are a teacher, man, because this is what we need though, especially for these youth these days. Because even me, bro, and I did a lot as a youth, but I look at some of these kids now and I'm like, man, that's why I applaud you, man, for like, because it's rough, man, and it's rough on its older people, because I think that's the problem too with this generation now. It's a real disconnect. With the kids and people above them, you know what I mean, that now you don't see any direction, and I think what it is, people wash their hands, like they don't even know how to deal, like they'll just, because these kids are disrespectful, all of this, so a lot of the older, they'll just wash their hands with it, and that's what we don't need to do, because we see what's going on now. We're going in a direction right now where I don't even know, man. It's like it's serious right now, man. You see what these kids are doing right now. It is on 10, bro. Seriously, man. It'll make someone even like me, and I know, when I came up, it was a lot going on, but these kids right now, it's almost like we're really in Revelations, bro. So it's like, with these youth, man. So to have people like you here, man, and to bring awareness, and I don't even know, man. I applaud you, bro. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you, definitely. It's funny you say that, because I, as a substitute, I actually applied, especially those you said in the comments. I applied the permanent teachers, the ones who actually like have a permanent teaching position at a school and like do it every single day with the same kids, because that's even harder. And a lot of times, what I also communicate to the students too is to help them get along with their teachers better, because students don't understand a lot of times what teachers deal with. So you have teachers and students both stressed out, both doing this, while the administration is getting more of this, and they can care less about what's going on in the classroom. I know I'd probably piss some people off by saying that, but
that's real.
A lot of students that I be telling them a lot of times, I'm like, hey, you guys know that like when you guys go home, your teachers stay here for 3 extra hours. They tired of y'all, and then they still got to stay here and grade y'all work, and they getting home when it's dark. Then they got to show up to school 2 hours before y'all. Then they sometimes got to use the bathroom while y'all are bugging them, or just attempting to get them to like understand each other. And then it's great to see when you see students and teachers understand each other, because there are a lot of times when students, when you get them on track, like they'll tell other students to shut up, or they'll tell other students like, hey, do your work, and or Miss So and So said, hey, we could watch a movie if we all get a B on this test. And
let me ask you this, Tyre. Another thing, did you know going into this, like, because we didn't even get to how, I don't know if we got to how you became a teacher, but you've done a lot of different things, studied a lot of different things. But did you know going into this, you had to know, like, the generation now what we're dealing with, and how it's going to be to try to teach kids and mentor kids, or even deal with it? Like I joked earlier, that's probably why you're just a substitute. But did you know what you were really getting into, or did you learn more as you went on? And did it want to, seeing what you've seen, did it make you more want to get involved, or less involved, or how was that process for you, accepting all this and saying, okay, the challenge up ahead of you, like opposed to just being a substitute teacher, this is my job, wanting to really make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, how was that process for you?
Definitely. So I have a unique take on that, because to many people, it would probably look like I'm not intent on making a difference because I am just a substitute. But I don't look at it as just that, because I look at it as permanent teachers really have to be kind of stuck under the umbrella of what administrations want them to teach. And
Politics.
you can, yeah, exactly. And you can deviate from that, but you still have to, if you deviate from that and they have poor test scores, then, you know, your ass is out the door.
Right.
And it sucks too, because like
Right.
testing is really not like the best way to like test where they're getting. And a lot of times, like for instance, there can be students that are great writers, they love to read, they're good at math, but test questions are designed to trick you. They're not designed to test what you know. So it's like, you know, the way that they measure like their progress is wrong, because that's how come a lot of times kids who get discouraged become class clowns, because tests do that to them. But then you'll find a lot of times like they be the ones that be the best writers. That's how they become rappers and musicians and into other stuff. And then just getting back to what you were saying too about this, I didn't know that this is how it was gonna be, honestly. I just remembered kind of how I interacted with kids before, and then I kind of grew and learned about this as I started doing it more and more. And that's how I learned that I like to do high school. Middle school kids can be hit or miss. Middle school is kind of that age when they start feeling themselves, because they start feeling like they're close to being an adult and they can talk to you any kind of way. You know, younger kids, you can still kind of, you know, let them know. But once they get 7th to 8th grade, they're in this rebellious stage a lot of times that they don't shake until the end of 9th grade. But I like the high school again, like I said, because I learned that a lot of times they're gonna have a lot of information force fed down their throats by other teachers. So sometimes a day with me where I just pull them aside and talk to them and see what they even have going on outside of school, see what they're really interested in. And I mean, like, they'll tell you something surface level. Like, for instance, you asked me about the artist in music, and I'll be like, but why do you really listen to him? Why do you really like that person? What is it you feeling about that music? Or why do you like this movie? Or why do you read that book? Or why are you into this? What are you really getting out of that? And I'll be like, hey, have you ever considered reading up on this person? And you'll be like, no, I ain't never heard of that, mister. I'm like, oh, well, Nat Turner. He did something similar, but he did it for the people. You know, and then countless times I've like given students books that I read and just been like, hey, read this before you graduate, and then hit me again when you graduate, and I'm gonna see if you really read it and if you really knew what you was talking about. I'm like, it'll change your life. But that comes like after connecting with them. And I've given away a lot of that stuff, and I look at that sometimes as like reaching them more. You know, I applaud the permanent teachers, but like my take on this is I always have felt like I can impact them in ways that the system wouldn't allow me to do, because the system just kind of wants you to, you know, well, first
you
we're
can
gonna
come
learn.
Who is this guy? And you impact, get in and get out without, you know, I understand that. And another thing I want to touch on, Aresha Miller, Milner, I'm sorry. Is that another thing I want to touch on that you said, like with these kids, a lot of the times, some, like you said, the class clowns or the ones that are quote unquote, they say the fuck ups, right? Or a lot of these kids, like you say, wind up, they have a lot of hidden talents that people just don't know, or they weren't able to express because they couldn't express it the right way, and then they just get pushed to the side as a bad student or not getting good grades, and they get pushed to the side. And you see these kids later. That's why, not to compare it, but you can go like in the prison system, bro, and see so many talented kids or young men that are in the prisons. Just think of all the stuff these dudes do in prison. The time they have, this stuff. If you can find the most creative people, you know what I mean, behind them walls, you know what I mean, and those you find out are really talents, even though you think, oh, they're doing some shit, right? These are talents they have, you know, but aren't able to get developed, you know, whether it be writing, tattoo artists, rappers, or you know, electricians. People be electricians, don't even know it because they're in there making gadgets and all this type of shit. It is a lot of talent in there, but people don't even know the talents they have because they weren't able to develop them, right? So I just think that was important what you said.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it. I've seen that firsthand many times. Again, same school I was at this week. I saw a lot. A class that I saw for yesterday, the last period of the day was a robotics class, and I had several of the kids in there, that were considered like class clowns elsewhere, and didn't do
Right,
their work, and yet they got in my period and they in there building robots, and
right,
robots that had the arm and they could roll around the floor, and they was programming the controller and all this technical stuff. I had no idea what they was doing. I was just supervising,
right,
and I'm like, well, these kids can be class clowns in somebody else's class, but then they building robots over here at 14 years old.
right.
You know,
That's dope, man. It's just so much to touch on. I'm just glad that we even got to this teacher subject, because you see, as we went somewhere, and I'm glad we did, because that's important, and that's why I'm glad, again, you are a teacher at whatever capacity, substitute, whatever, because I can see that you are reaching the youth, and those are the type of teachers we need. I wish I had those type of teachers, and we need you type of teachers, because, like I said again, these kids right now, that man, it's a different level right now. And I'm able to say that I did a lot, but I'd be looking at these kids now, and I witnessed it personally too. I've been in, like, I can say, past relationship where a
like,
female had kids, and I had to go through the things I did with the kids, or even
did I lose
okay, can you hear
you?
me?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. It froze up for like the last 3 seconds. Sorry.
Okay, you didn't miss anything. I was just saying, again, just a salute to you for knowing how to deal with these kids and having teachers like you. So what we'll do, we'll try to wrap it up now. I know we've been on here for a minute, but in close, because we can go all night. Man, you wear so many hats, bro, and I just really proud of you, man. I just want to say that. But in closing,
Thank you.
Tyree, what do you want to leave the people with? What do you want to end this with, man? Because we talked about a lot. Again, you're a guy that wears a lot of hats. We can go a lot of different directions. You touch a lot of people in different ways, whether it be in film, you know, public speaking, teaching, a lot of things. What do you want to leave the people with tonight, Tyree?
I definitely just want people to value their authentic self. I think when you look at my journey and everything that we talked about here, um, everything that my team stands for, that I've grown to be, that or throughout my experiences, and the time that I experienced the most pushback, or the time that I experienced the most stress, was when I was just trying to do too much. And I would say, value your authentic self, because that's the version of you that God created and loves. And recognize in you, and your purpose, if you know it or if you don't know it, is much bigger than you. And once you come to terms with that, it gives you a lot more peace at heart. And so everything that I do, even though it may be polar opposite, teaching and film is polar opposites. Whatever you do, you feel that sense of, there's something bigger than me in what I'm doing. It allows you to be able to do other things without feeling like, you're doing too much. You're trying to be perfect and you're failing at it. And I've spent a lot of years struggling mentally because I overthought. And even to this day, my team and everybody close to you will tell you that I'm overthinker at times, and very analytical, but also that was because, like, I was doing too much of my own and not it says be not wise in your own own eyes, and let the Lord direct your paths, and really embracing that, and that'll bring peace to you. And I would leave everybody with that, because the more time you spend wrestling with that, the more stress you bring upon yourself.
Fact. That's a fact. Worrying, don't worry. It's just like, it's just extra stress put on your body, But I know it's hard because we're human. So stuff hits you, you do worry, but wise not to. That's all I can say. Thank you for that. Tyree Mills, ladies and gentlemen, Riders for Life Films. Again, tell everyone where they can follow you at, because I'm sure you gain a lot of people, respect what you do tonight, man. Even me more so. I already know about you, but I learned a lot more tonight. Tell the people where they could follow you at or get at you for business or whatever. All your handles.
Definitely. So I'm on Instagram mainly, primarily Mill Suave 44. So that's MILLSUAVE 44 on Instagram and TikTok. I am on Facebook, but I'm rarely on there. So hit me up on
Me too. I
Instagram.
don't even feel it. I feel you.
Yeah, Facebook is a whole different thing. I have a website, but it's also still parts of it are under construction. But you can see a lot of my work there. The link is on my Instagram again, and also follow my team's page, man. We love what we do, and we do it for other people, and we do it under God's direction. So at Rider for Life Films, RYDA, the number 4, LIFE Films, spelled FILMZ. And then follow our podcast, The Patio Politics, DAPATIOPOLITCZ, on Instagram and on YouTube. And shout out to y'all, man. I've always seen y'all, support us and repost us. So, definitely want to leave the audience with that. Y'all are amazing, man. And, I love every time that I see one of y'all's posts. I check in a lot of times. Shout out to DD as well. Shout out to Queen Jean. Yeah, those are the handles, man. And hit me up. I do respond to messages. I do enjoy if you have any questions on film and how to shoot stuff, or I've done I won't say tutorials, but I've done like tip videos on Instagram here and there. And shout out to Miss Michelle, who runs the Las Vegas Black Film Festival. She was in the comments earlier. Taught a cinematography class at her festival anytime. So anybody who wants tips or wants to continue to learn, I do respond to messages, and I have no problem helping because this is a talent that was given to me by God. So it's not like mine. It's not specific to me, and I believe it's meant for me to share and help other people. So.
Now, I want to end it and say salute to you. Elliot said, I want to read Elliot's message because I agree totally. She said, Tyre, keep being great. Your story is enlightening. Much blessings to you on your journey. Glad you're here in the flesh, telling your story and achieving your goals. And I second that. And I want to salute to your pops. I seen them in the comments, man. That's so great to see that type of stuff, man. And I'm sure your pops is glad to see you here, especially knowing your story. And I know him being a parent, your mom, all of them, even probably when they heard the things you were going through and suicide back in the day. I know that's probably all old now, but I'm just full circle. I'm glad to see that, man. And salute to you and the Riders for Life family was here in support. I love to see unity, support, and love, man. So that's what makes Riders for Life, me personally, so great. That's what I see with you guys. Like, it's all love. Like, you guys are like a real family, all the way around, not only friends, but you have all of your family there. I know JT's dad and family is there. You got Jasmine, and it's just a family affair, man, and it's real love. So salute to you all. Continue great success. Thank you for everything you guys do for us too. You always support us. Like I say, you're at all of our events. You guys show up and always show love. So thank you, man. Just like Elliot said, continue being great, man, and being who you are, man, because you inspire us, and it's a reflection of what we can see to be great. So shout out to Riders for Life Films, you and everything you guys got going on, and thank you for coming on my show tonight, man. This shit was great. I haven't had fun like this in a minute, man, and really got some real content, like I think everyone learned something tonight. So thank you, man.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. Thank you tremendously. Because even though we do our own podcast, I still get nervous, so I was like, I was nervous coming in, honestly, not gonna lie. Let me see. Did I lose you?
I know you said it. I didn't believe it. I'm like, you're a professional, but I think just we fed off of each other. Like I said, I learned a lot. It was just great. This wasn't an interview. This was just a great conversation, and I think just something people can learn from, man, and just like It was just great, man. Thank you, man. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless, man. This was great tonight. Thank you.
Man, I'm glad. I'm glad I could even come on, man. I was I watched the show before, and I was honored. So I'm glad y'all invited me. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And in closing, again, when's the next what we got coming up? The patio politics, like what do we got coming up in the immediate near future that people need to look out for?
So y'all can check out the Patio Politics Tuesdays, 6:00 here on YouTube. So again, find us on YouTube at The Patio Politics. So like The Patio Politics, but The Patio Politics. We have interviews. We also have panels on very diverse topics. And again, the difference is, we really approach them topics with a family like feel, with the intensity. So it ain't us being at each other's throats. It's real love while we getting intense on these topics, and y'all will definitely love it. So check us out Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Here on YouTube, The Patio Politics. Heart and Soul, our feature film, is coming soon. All right, so y'all will definitely know about that. It's in festivals right now. It's already won some awards. If you haven't checked out our movies, check out our movies. The Council, it's on Apple TV, and also Tubi. Frank Blue is on Tubi, and yeah, it's a lot
dope.
going.
That's dope. My homie said he's on Apple TV. So first and foremost, salute to that. Apple TV. But for the people who don't got Apple, you got iPhones and all that shit, you can go to Tubi because everybody got Tubi. You know what I mean? Yeah. So go to Tubi after this shit right here and go tap in. You see all the other little hood movies on there. Go on there and make sure you tap in. Is the Council and Frank Blue's on there too?
Yep.
Man, go tap into those movies ASAP so you can see what Rydaz for Life Films is doing and how they set apart from the rest, man. Excellence right there. Rydaz for Life Films. Tyre Mills Suave is his handle at IG. Tap into the homie, man. Thank you again, brother. Love you, homie. Much love and continued success. And I'll see you guys soon. We got some stuff coming up. I know you're gonna show up. Much love. We'll be in touch. And thank you again, man. Love you, bro.
All right, y'all. Love you too. Good night.
Peace and love. That's the homie right there. And before we get up out of here, once again, Mills Suave. Thank you, Elliot. I want to shout out to Elliot, who was in the comments showing love. And I know I got the Hayward thing wrong. I think I said that before. I get this shit mixed up. I don't know, but I know that's where Spice One's from, and a lot of others. And but shout out to the Bay Area, period. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Elliot. Shout out to Lena Lokes. Thank you, Lena. And your whole family, the Contreras family. Shout out to DD Hairston, my producer. Shout out to Queen Jean, who made a special appearance tonight. What up, Queen? Cousin Marcy's Minute. The homie E Visions, Armando, Nay Love. Everyone tapped in tonight, and thank you for the love and support. Don't forget tomorrow night conversation in the Hookah Lounge. DD Hairston, they'll be on a little earlier because it's a fight night. So tune in for local times and listings, right? And then don't forget Sunday night we'll be back for Oldies Rule Forever, rated #1 Sunday nights. And with that being said, peace and love, y'all. I'm gonna get some sleep. You know what I mean? So love you all. Thank you for the love. We'll see you next time. Peace, love, out.